Welcome to Role Playing Degenerates. You get to see my beautiful face other than Steve's now on Thursdays, and we're probably going to do a little bit of rescheduling, but hey, it is what it is. Today I have Katy with Dragon Ink Dice, right? Dungeon
You
Ink
got
Dice. Dragon Ink Dice.
it.
Dragon Ink Dice. We met Katy at Fan Expo Chicago. And she was a wonderful individual and had a very unique dice that we will talk about here in a second. Katy, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introductions, hobbies, so on and so forth, kind of thing.
Katie, I run obviously Dragon Ink Dice. I've been doing it for about 2 years now, and it's pretty much all I spend my time doing because you could do almost anything while working on dice. uh, it's pretty bad. Like, if you got any other podcasts other than your own, which I already listened to, or Netflix recommendations, I go through a lot while working. See, other hobbies, obviously playing role-playing games. My main one is Vampire the Masquerade, but I am starting to get into D&D. Kind of crazy since I mostly make dice for D&D. Uh, but we'll get into that. And other than that, I don't know. I like to torture myself by working on extremely hard jigsaw puzzles.
Yes, I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, I'm working on the same one for over a month. That's
Oh,
not normal.
are you the same person that likes like the I forget what they call them, but they're like those unique puzzles that a lot of them usually come from like Japan or China, um, but they're you like weird puzzles like get this nut out of a bottle kind of thing or something like that. Um,
Tried those. I prefer the jigsaw puzzles more.
for the jigsaws. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has their preference,
Yeah.
but I like those unique ones. I
They're cool.
I think
There's
it.
been some. I've tried a few. I'm not great at them.
I think I enjoy it so much because when I was in the military, we
Hmm.
had a supply sergeant when we were just sitting there like going over paperwork and stuff. He'd have a whole bunch on his desk, so we had something to fidget with while we were waiting for him to do his job. So we met Katy at Fan Expo Chicago, and what really drew our attention to her was her dice, and specifically there was a D30 dice. Um, we kind of asked what this was all about, what it's used for. Uh, Katy, if you could please explain to the audience what this D30 was used for, what it was made for. Just kind of its little backstory behind it.
At first I had no idea that D30s were even a thing until I got a message on my Twitch account from someone in France asking me if I'd ever thought of making one because they loved the shape of D30s.
Huh.
And so, yeah, I had no idea. So I was like, well, let me see if I could find someone that'd be willing to make a master of that first. Then I started looking into it. I suppose there's a few like random encounter tables that use D30s. There's a couple of different systems that use mainly D30s. I don't remember the names because they're not ones I play, but I have had many people tell me that they are used.
Are the games like more outside of the United States, like like across the
I don't
pond, or?
think so. It was, I think there, one was Dungeon Crawl Classic. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like that's the right name.
All right, everybody heard it. Quote her on that, and we'll
Yeah,
look it up.
blast me on Twitter.
Yes, go blow up her Twitter.
Yeah,
Um,
if I
so
got it wrong, drag me.
hey, following's a following, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, person makes this die has no idea what it's for.
That's okay. You know, uh, speaking of dice.
Mhm.
What got you into dice making?
It's a long story,
Well, we're here
but
for 30 minutes to an
I'm
hour.
prepared to share. So I started back in 2020, and how it began was my dad had this wild idea that he wanted to start up a group on Twitch called the Dice Cult and wanted to stream, actual play games. It's gone through a lot of changes since then, and he's not in charge anymore. But that's another story. But part of when we were talking about it, we were like, "Oh, it'd be so cool if we could get some custom dice for the players and the campaigns." And I was just sitting there, doing my retail job, working at a thrift store. I'm like, I could do that. I could figure out how to make dice. And proceeded to lose my job quickly after that because pandemic. They let go of anyone
Oh.
that hadn't been there for over like 90 days. And I was like, well, if I'm ever going to try this, I might as well do it now. So I kind of went full force, bought the masters. Like, I designed a logo for myself. I had another set of masters designed with their logos. Just kind of quickly just had everything I needed. We had a full setup, had pressure pots, and air compressor. Ended up taking over one of the extra bedrooms, and now I've got shelves full of paint and glitter and moss and everything. Everything you can think. I have over 200 colors of glitter
Oh my goodness.
at last count.
That's
There's
that's
there's
that's
more
I
now.
think that's more than like a strip club or something. That's
Mostly,
ridiculous.
yeah, probably. They probably stick with like a base 10 colors, got a solid rainbow.
Yeah, you
I've
get
got walls full.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. That's I mean, like, are you happy that you lost this job and this is where you're at now?
Oh, yeah. So happy about it. I did not like what I was doing. So at first it was a thrift store and I switched to a bookstore and that's the one that I lost because the thrift store was horrible. The bookstore, the people were cool. I was really uncomfortable in the position because it was one of those ones where you could bring in your old books and they would buy it from you, and whew, that was not fun. Did not like that. People don't like you telling them their books aren't worth much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially a lot of like I'm not a big book reader. I'm trying to get more into it because to help my creative um
Hmm.
my creative juices and I could see how somebody could get emotionally attached to books, especially when like they represent themselves a little bit in the inside.
Yeah.
And I've personally seen this in friends of mine, and they could I could see them definitely get emotional about their favorite book. You know, it's like, oh, I really need this money, I
Hmm.
but this is my favorite book. I'm not giving it up unless it's this price, you know? And then
And
you
then they
go,
get offered like a quarter for it, and
yeah,
it doesn't go well.
and then they realize they go, my book's not worth a quarter. They go onto eBay and like, it's only worth $1 on eBay.
Hmm. Because there's like 100 listings. Ugh.
That's that's definitely an interesting thing. I love books.
Oh, I
Like
love books.
I for a guy that doesn't read hardly, but mostly Dungeons and Dragons things, I love books, and I've read a lot of other people's content, and I'm getting into writing content
Mhm.
myself for D&D. I would
Oh,
hope,
cool.
yeah, I'm hoping to have my first small story published in the next year. Uh,
All right.
is the goal, but money depends on that because I want it completely done right with
Hmm.
art and all that stuff, and I
No, quick sidebar. I technically got a degree in editing if you want like professional editing help. Got you.
you got me, you got me.
Like
All right.
for copy editing, yeah,
Oh yeah.
I know how
Oh
to do that.
oh yeah. You can.
I got you.
We'll talk later. This is why we love podcasts.
Yeah, you never know.
You don't know who you'll ever. You don't know who you'll meet, and this is the greatest thing ever. And also the other thing is that one of the other RPD guys just saw this, so now you're on a pedestal, and you're definitely valued in our community.
I appreciate that. It's been a long time to get into it, so I'm glad I'm here.
Um, so you said you're so let's I guess let's have a you told the story about how you got into dice making, and
Mhm.
you kind of brought up a small side thing here that your dad started this dice
Yeah, the
cult.
dice cult. Hmm.
Can you
The
tell us a
dice
little
cult.
can you tell us a little bit more about that? And if you don't care, mind telling us why he's no longer um, leading that?
Dice cult. So I'm still part of the dice cult. We are a tabletop game group on Twitch. You can find us there. We have a show on Monday. There's one every other Tuesday. There's a game that plays on YouTube every other Wednesday. And we just finished our vampire game about a month ago that we play every Saturday, and we might be making another one. But it started up around, oh, actually I know the exact date because it was 1/20/2020. So it was when we had our first show stream, and he was the DM for that very first game, and it went for a while. I don't remember the exact specifics of the campaign itself. I wrote a newspaper in it, which is where if you find me on Twitch is why my Twitch username is Newsire Scryer, because that was the newspaper name. And I made a newspaper for them every weekend. It's evolved into having all of these different shows. Our main game is on Mondays. It's called On the Backs of Gods. Super cool. It's Norse mythology based. And it was like a war with the gods happened, and the bodies have ended up corrupting the land. So it's really creepy. And that game, oh gosh, this Monday should be our 100th episode for that game.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so that'll be pretty cool. I'm excited to be in the chat to
Uh,
bother everyone, do my thing.
I mean, watching D&D is just as can be just as fun as playing it. So, power to you. We are
Hmm.
we are getting into the streaming thing. We've been kind of
Yeah.
like subtly streaming our game. We want to stream more often, like once a week, but
Hmm.
uh, that takes, that takes the right people with the right schedules to do such a thing.
Oh yeah.
And then we have a once a month kind of style group, but a lot of them in there are like military, so we're
Mm.
all up in the air most of the time. Like people have drill, people have work. I'm
Yep.
no longer in the military, so my schedule is different than theirs. I have three kids. Some people have no kids, so their schedules are,
Yeah, it
wild.
could be definitely hard to schedule around all of that, I bet.
Yeah, it's really a pain. So our schedules actually, the three of us that run with RPD have been we've been blessed that we've started a
Hmm.
couples game where our significant others are involved, and we have been I think this is going to turn into a good thing, hopefully, where it's going to be a nice in-person game to stream and for people to watch once we get up to par of our equipment and microphones. Right now we were running with like two cameras and a microphone last time, but we had so much fun. uh, One of Chris from, I think you actually met Chris with Steve. Uh, he had the one with the glasses. He he brought somebody back to life, asked them, questioned them, and then slit their throat all in secrecy in a room. And people were so mad that they didn't catch him doing it. Oh, it
I
was so
know.
funny.
You
There,
gotta get your information.
right. And I'm playing a necromancer warforge, and
Ugh.
I don't have mannerism. I don't have manners or morality or anything like that. I'm like true neutral basically. And I was like, man, if I see this, I'm just not gonna care. Like,
Be like, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah, and his wife was so destined to roll perception checks to figure out if she saw it or not. And she was so mad when she failed. Oh man, it was
Oh
great.
gosh. That's amazing though.
Yeah, but like when he's a politician, so when he's secretly bringing people back to life, and you see this all out of character, you're just like, okay, what's going on here? Oh, there's a secret door over there. Okay, he just cuffs his mouth and goes shh, good night, and just like puts him back down. It's like, oh fuck, what just happened? Oh no.
Right.
Uh, those are like the best moments to watch in like D&D. I remember like my specific like moments in Critical Role where I'm like, oh fuck, like that's awesome, hands down. Like, I remember my favorite kill. I remember my favorite turnaround moments, like in a bad sticky situation. And
Hmm.
I'm only in campaign 2, like episode 50 almost.
I have only watched, I think, 20 to 30 of the first campaign. I'm
20
working
to
on other stuff first, but I'm enjoying it. They're a fun group.
They are a fun group. Who's your favorite character in campaign 1 so far?
Oh, goodness. From what I've heard, I mean, I personally, I'm listening to it because I'm learning more about the character type that I'm going to be playing soon. So
Okay.
I'm listening and learning a lot from Keyleth at the moment, but I always have a special place in my heart for rogues just because of what all the shenanigans.
And their utility is so good.
It's so good. But yeah, it's hard to pick,
It,
especially with only a couple episodes.
I hate to say it, but Keyleth is my least favorite character.
Is she? Interesting.
I
Well, I'll have to see how it grows. I mean, Grog's always beautiful, but
Oh yeah, he makes these small moments great.
right.
And plays a big old like teddy bear Goliath barbarian
Hmm.
perfectly.
It's
And
done so well.
uh, have you watched the animated series yet, or are you gonna wait till you finish the
I
stream
started
series?
it.
Okay.
I started it to see how good it was, and I was like, okay, so I need to go listen to all of the episodes, and then I can watch this.
Well, you got through episode 27, so that's the most. So I usually recommend to people if you are gonna watch campaign 1, start from 27 and beyond, because
Because
of
of the audio stuff, yeah.
the audio, the Tiberius stuff. There's some
Yeah.
cringy stuff there.
Hey, I
Uh,
made it through it, so I'm good now.
yeah, it only gets better from there, and then I'm not gonna tell you anymore because around episode 100 is where I was like, all right, I don't know if I can watch this anymore because
Oh, no.
I was upset, and it wasn't. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything. We'll talk.
I'll find out.
When you hit episode 100, let's talk about it. We'll have you come back. We'll talk about it. How about
We'll just have a short
that?
interlude episode. Be like, so episode 100, guys. Here we
I,
go.
I had to remember what exact episode is, but it's around 100,
All right. I'll
and
remember.
that's the episode I don't like Keela. um,
Interesting. Interesting.
uh,
Very intriguing.
so we talked about your dad a little bit about how he's part of the Dice Cult.
Yeah, it's not a huge story as to why he's not anymore. It's more of a time thing, and
I I
just
I totally
he
get it.
was, yeah, like he wasn't running a game anymore and was just doing producer stuff. So he just kind of stepped away, and handed over the reins to people that were more actively involved in the group. But he still gets to hear about everything from me updating him on every game
You're like, oh,
because
this happens here, this
I have
happens
to
here.
share everything with everyone.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I hope that you gain more people watching the stream just by coming through
Hey,
here.
they do. I don't know how long when this is coming out, so I don't know if I can say things
Oh no.
because there's secret information.
Normally they get posted within a couple days, so you might have to wait.
Oof, I can't say anything then because
uh,
even the current players don't know this.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
The
I'll just the secret is that I'm currently working on building a spore druid.
ooh. So you're playing a druid. Are you playing a Circle of the Moon?
No, I'm working on doing a circle of spores.
So, that's the Magic of the Gathering content, correct?
Sure. I haven't paid for it yet. I've only found things on Wikidot.
I believe if
But
you want to have, are you using D&D Beyond character sheets?
yeah, that's what we're building them on.
If you need open source books to not purchase that, let us know. We have an open like source books campaign where people just join so they have access to everything. You're more than welcome to join.
Interesting. I will probably take you up on that offer because it's really awful trying to build something. And you're like, wow, I can't access anything
And that's what I tell,
without spending $500.
yeah, you can like pick and choose what you can buy, but like it's definitely worth the $500. It's,
Yes, it is. It's just, do I have $500 to spend on all the books this second? No.
no, nobody does.
No one does.
Oh,
But there's
we spend it all on the dice and the minis.
exactly. I spend it all on more glitter.
Your wall of glitter. It'll be a room of
Uh,
glitter before you know it.
oh yeah. There's let's see. We built a wooden shelf for some of it. There's shelves on the wall. There's a bookshelf that has a couple shelves. All of it. Everywhere.
Um, so do you take so you do take commissions sometimes. Do you take it all the time? Does it depend if you're slow, busy, or
Yeah, I mean they're technically always open. I won't necessarily take every commission because it depends on what someone wants and if I think my skills fit that. But they're always open. I technically am finishing up one set right now, and I'm in the process of sanding another. So I'm always working on commissions, and I'm pouring many D30s for another one.
where we have talked about the D30 quite like I think every game since Fan Expo. We've talked about that D30, and I think we're all gonna purchase one eventually and find a way to use it in D&D one of these
I think
days.
they're a lot of they're probably the most difficult thing I have to finish because it's kind of like sanding and polishing a golf ball. So it's challenging to say the least.
Have
And
you,
for whatever reason, it's also the ones that I end up getting voids in the most often when I make them. So I have a bunch in my bag of discarded dice.
um, so you have a whole bunch of their just discard dice, just with
Because
voids
they
in
end up
it.
with like yeah, with holes and things like that.
Have you ever thought about like throwing them on a clearance rack or whatever or something?
Oh, as it builds, I'm thinking of looking for a mimic chest to put them in there and be like 50 cents or $1 per die.
I
You can
mean,
do whatever you want with it.
yeah. I mean, that some people like imperfections like that though.
Yeah. I mean, some are pretty big holes. I'm not like whole chunks just missing.
We had Hard Reese from RPD said sculpt a mimic chest, air dry clay, man. So I mean that would be pretty cool to sculpt a mimic chest. I've
It would be.
Me and Steve have been trying to like work how to properly make D&D tiles, and we tried multiple clay foam clay. That didn't work out too well because it's super sticky. So when you try to apply like um, a rolling print, have you ever seen those? The print rolls?
To get the textures.
Yeah, texture roll. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. We tried that. It works really well until like it gets like a foot into uh that clay or that foam clay, whatever you want to call it. It gets real sticky and starts sticking real bad, and it's just an absolute mess. I have to like do a lot of research into that because uh we want to build a massive collection of physical maps. Have you ever built maps or anything like that for anybody, or are you just strictly stick to dice, or um, uh, do you have other realms of um, building things in the D&D community?
Personally, I'm really just the dice. Whenever I'm visiting my parents, my dad has a ton of 3D printers, and we pick out some stuff to print together, so different miniatures and terrain. But he is more of the master craftsman of painting those and making the maps.
That's
I'd say
awesome.
the closest I've gotten to anything like that wasn't any physical help. It was just helping create puzzles for one of his campaigns. And they were just brutal puzzles. Like an invisible, basically an electric fence maze, but the walls were invisible.
That's
It was painful.
why you gotta be so harsh?
Well, sometimes you make things difficult. I don't know.
That's okay. That's okay. The
Fine. They had fun with it.
As long as they have fun. I have a hard time doing puzzles in D&D because I enjoy role playing so much and the
Oh,
story so
I
much.
same. I'm a big story person.
Yeah, and I like combat. Combat can be meaningful and stuff like that, but everybody has to be on board, and
Mm.
role play combat is basically how it is. Puzzles can get rough if you do too many in a row.
Oh yeah, I think it was just that was the only puzzle for getting into a place, and then it was just traditional dungeon crawl after that. So I
That's
stopped paying attention because they weren't role playing. It was just combat after combat after combat.
that
But
can that that can be really good if your DM's really good at strategy and
oh
challenges your
yeah,
strategy as a player.
yeah. It really depends. That was an interesting group because some of them were very into combat, and then there were others in the group that were painting miniatures during combat, and were not paying attention at all. So it was interesting.
So I looked through some of your dice
Yeah.
um, on on your website, and I saw some really cool ones. One thing I've been seeing at uh, a couple other places is these hollow dice with, I guess not hollow, but liquid dice
Oh
centers.
yeah.
Have
In
you dabbled in those? I didn't see on your website.
in liquid core, no, I have not yet. I have the materials to try them, and I know how they work. I just haven't sat and done it yet because it's a two-step process to do liquid core. So you have to make that inner part before you can actually cast the die. And how you do it is you get these orbs and you fill them with, whatever you're feeling it. So colored liquid, glitters. Some people put mylar foil in them. There are some people that I've seen that have even put flowers. And you do a combination of distilled water, glycerin, and the whatever coloration you're putting in there. And then you use UV resin on the top of these orbs and you have to cure it. And then after you've got that, then you can finally put it inside of a dye mold. So
That's a
it's a
lot of
long
work.
process.
And they
Yeah,
do they normally have to be larger than a regular D20, or is there smaller orbs that you can use?
they're small enough orbs. There's actually people that make full sets of dice where each die has its own orb in it that fits it.
That's
So they're
nuts.
out there. I just personally haven't done it yet. I'm working on getting the masters for a different style of die that also obviously isn't on my website yet. They are made with blanks. So essentially, I have my regular masters and then dice that are a size smaller than it that'll just fit in there snugly, and you can do all sorts of different designs on them. You can hand paint the inside. Can I plan on doing some more glitter dusted sets because with my old ones I wasn't able to do any sanding or polishing, and I don't like how they feel. But I'll be able to do those again. There's this really cool way you can make geode dice with blanks. So many options, and I'm really excited to finally get those in soon. Start making them.
That's awesome. Um,
Hmm.
I really like the idea of that, to be able to paint the inside. That's really,
Hmm.
and that probably helps preserve the paints too, besides painting the
Yeah,
outside. So if you can paint the numbers on the inside, it would, you know, prevent wear and tear on your dice.
yeah. So the paint for the numbers would still be on the normal level on the outside. It's more of a you would paint the entire die, like the die itself would be a painting
Okay.
plus those painted numbers on the outside. So it's still usable, but there used to be people who would paint just the regular die and then that paint would come off super easily because it's not indented in with the numbers. Eh, but now with this new type we're able to still do these kinds of hand painted pieces but they're enclosed. Like there was somebody, I don't remember their name right now, but they made a set that looked like the kind of china that has those blue designs on it. It was
Okay.
super pretty. And you can't do that with a regular set.
That's that's really cool. I'll have to
Hmm.
look into that, or well, maybe we can talk a little bit and show me a little bit more after.
Yeah.
Maybe or a different day, either or. Um, I have a quick question from the chat from Tal Raptor. He said, "Katie, where can I go to get your website, get to
So
your website?"
I can either say my website, it's dragoninkdice.bigcartel.com. If not, uh, on my Twitter, there's a link to be able to click and go there, which is probably a lot easier. But if you just kind of Google Dragon Ink Dice, I'm the only one out there,
Yep.
and everything should pop up.
And I can justify that because I literally Googled Dragon Ink Dice an hour ago, right before we got on, just to get my bearings to understand what she does, and
Hmm.
uh, so Talraptor, and if you have issues, you can personally message me on the Discord or I think you're in our Discord. So if you have any issues,
Yeah.
just personally message us. Myself and Katie's in there. Katie's name is actually Alae, ALAE underscore ATRAE. Um, if we have issues, if you have issues finding it, you can either message myself, Sisquatch, or her. If not, go ahead and check her stuff out. It's really cool stuff. There's a lot of really cool coming soon stuff I saw. So
Yeah. I'm
Please,
trying to get pictures of more stuff up there before it all goes live, but
the
photographing dice, hard business.
do you photograph all your own dice?
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Most of the photos on my camera are just me taking about 30 to 40 pictures of the same set and not liking any of them and then having to try again.
hey, that's okay.
Yeah. They
We
are one of the hardest things I've ever had to photograph.
um, let's see, what was I gonna say? Do so you have your dice.
Mhm.
Um, when you if you would like to, our Discord is always open to everybody that's a um, that makes things, socials, anything like that. Uh, definitely come. You can definitely come to our Discord and post. If you post like Twitter posts or you're not on TikTok, I don't believe, correct?
I'm not. I just have one to follow people.
That's totally fine. Um, but your Twitter, your Instagram, and your website, you're more than welcome. Your socials, you can post underneath the social tab to help promote yourself, and that way people can see your up and coming things that you post on your socials. We also have a tab called Mimic Marketing that helps creators that have product sell their product. That's kind of what we're about, is that we want to help as many people as we can out. And they kind of that kind of goes into another topic. I'd like to, while we're kind of in the middle of talking about helping people, is
Mhm.
um, I'm not asking you. This is kind of a general to the chat. I don't know if you saw Papa Lycan's post a week ago, but his friend lost his wife in the birth of their daughter. The daughter's healthy, but we have a Google Forms out there on our link tree on TikTok and our other socials. If anybody wants to, if anybody has donated or wants to donate to that cause, we're almost to our goal of $50,000. We're obviously trying to go above and beyond 50,000. They definitely, the gentleman definitely deserves it, and Papa Lycan's a really good person. Met him very briefly in Chicago, but he was very generous. And if you, if anybody donated to that, please send us your screenshot your GoFundMe email saying that you did, and we'll put you in for the raffle. And you'll be put in for winning a whole bunch of different things based off that Google Forms document. There's about 20 plus content creators that have donated to this raffle. So we set an original date for September 2nd for the drawing, but we may postpone it and maybe do a drawing weekly until we're out of content to give to people. So that's kind of a small blurb to the side here, but I just want to know that we're here. Perfect. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So I want to say thanks everybody that that donated. It was really good. But since we're go back on to topic with Miss Katie here, so if what is your favorite dice to make out of all the sets? Whether it's D20, D10, D12. Maybe what's the easiest? What's your favorite outcome of one? And what's your least favorite to make?
Technically, the easiest to make are D4s because I only have to sand four sides, but they aren't very exciting.
So that's your
Uh,
easiest.
that's the easy one. The ones that get the coolest, I would say that the D12s get some of the coolest designs because they have more faces, so similar to a D20 in the amount of refractions you're going to get, but the faces are still a bit bigger, so you can see what the inside looks like a bit better. So I like the D12s a lot for the visibility inside.
Okay, I could see that because it's got the biggest sides. It's the second biggest
Yeah,
dice, so you can still like manipulate it like a D20 if you wanted to.
yeah.
And um, yeah, I could definitely see that. So that's your easiest and your favorite. What's your least favorite then?
To make, oh gosh. So, for non-traditional D30, least favorite to sand, obviously. So many faces. Uh, for the purpose of what I do the most often, D10s slash the percentiles, because of how the faces are, it hurts so much after a while going through as many as I do in a sitting. The process is your hand, the way you have to hold specifically those, it's rough.
Man, you said the D. Could you repeat that? The
D10s,
D10s?
yeah, slash percentiles,
Oh
just their
yeah.
shape is pretty hard to hold on to.
Have you thought about um changing the design of the D10?
No, not really. I've thought about getting in general some different shaped dice, but I wouldn't do just one die if I was going to get new shapes. It would just be a whole set of fun new shapes.
Okay,
Or I guess that's a lie. I technically do have a taper crystal D4, but that's a special case because regular D4s are weapons.
yes, they are, especially if you
Yeah.
if you get metal dice. I don't know if you ever seen metal D4s,
Oh
but they
yeah.
will puncture. If you step on it, it's worse than a Lego.
Oh no, my dice do that too. I've cut myself
Oh
sanding
man.
D4s. They get sharp.
All right, everybody know that Katie needs to add a warning to her D4s.
Yeah,
They will
are
cut you.
sharp. Can cut you if they are fully hand sanded. They are dangerous.
Uh, Katie is a deadly weapon with D4s. Uh,
Yes,
they're basically caltrops, so be
exactly.
careful.
100% are. If there's anyone that tries to break in, I just have to throw my unfinished dice on the floor. Instant. I'm fine.
It'd be like Home Alone.
Exactly. I've got a whole bucket of them too.
Oh man, remind me never to break into your house.
I
Sounds
got
awful.
you.
All
It'd be bad.
right. You're
And I have a bucket of Legos too, so I can just throw that into the mix and done for.
Have you made anything larger than a D30? Maybe have you dabbled into thinking about making a D100?
I have not. I would consider it, but I think somebody would have to commission me for it ahead of time before I'd even get the master made. Because, whew, that would be rough. I'm not even sure how I would sand a D100 unless it was super oversized, like the size of a baseball or softball.
It would probably have to be very carefully because of how small the sides are.
Either that or I just wouldn't hand sand them. They would just go straight into my tumblers and
I
they wouldn't touch them again.
I may have to talk to you offline to make a D100 that is large. Just because it's used so little, the percentile. But I would like to incorporate our RPD logo into a large D100 like that. I think it'd be really cool to have a liquid core center
Goodness.
D100 like that.
Yeah, we could talk about it.
Would you
Would
be
be
interested in?
interested.
Would you be?
If
You're
not me,
interested?
I might have some people that could help because I know a lot of dice makers.
Well, I mean, we enjoy your stuff, so if it's something
I
that you're
know.
willing to tackle, but
I'm
with
willing to look into it.
like,
I'll say that.
yeah. What yeah, we'll have to talk about this and see if we can bring that up.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and and I'm willing to wait because we plan on playing D&D for the rest of our lives. So definitely, even if RPD fails as a business, that we would like
You'll
to do one day, we'll still have this memory of this massive D100 dice. Uh,
yeah.
and it'll be great. Oh no, my kids are going crazy.
Oh no. Surprised that my cat
Out,
hasn't
please.
started body slamming the door. That's usually what he does when I'm in here.
Um, yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about that later. But we have another question from chat. They asked, "Do you know of anyone who tumble sands their dice?" And
Yes.
okay,
So there are people that do like a regular rotary tumbler. That's usually how mass produced dice makers make their dice. But what a lot of handmade dice makers and even I do is we partially hand sand and polish our dice, and then we have what's called a vibratory tumbler, and that helps you not have to do as much sanding and polishing, but still keeps those sharp edges. So I do that. Two of my friends make that. So Alchemist Attic and Lucky Marrow. I met somebody in Georgia, Evergreen Burrow. She sands it, tumbles her dice. So there's a ton of us that are using this process now.
that's awesome. Tal Raptor, there's your answer for you. There are plenty of dice makers out there that tumble sand their dice.
We're just not using rotary tumblers. It's actually the kind of tumblers. They're these vibration ones, so you actually usually use them for cleaning shell casings.
Okay,
But if you get the right media, and you actually, most of us use headlight polish in
headlight
the
polish.
tumblers.
Okay,
hmm Car headlight polish. I
it
really
must.
wish it came in bigger bottles, so I usually have to get 6 at a time. They're
That,
always these small
that
bottles.
that must be like a very hard thing to buy in bulk because I don't think a lot of people would buy that in bulk.
They don't. I get carded every single time.
And they're like, "What are you making with all these things?" And you're like, "Oh, just dice." And they're
Just
like, "Yeah,
dice.
yeah, that's true. You're just making dice."
hmm
That's really cool that people are using those different style techniques and things like that. I guess one thing I'd like to ask, we're going to close up here, is that what's what's your favorite thing about Dungeons and Dragons and uh, in general, whether it's the community, the game, um, your dice, uh, and I'll have one more. I'm gonna have one more question pertaining to your business after this too.
My favorite thing for D&D in general, and honestly it's not even just D&D, it's just tabletop games, is the friends that I've made playing it. Like this group that I told you guys about, the Dice Cult,
Hmm.
uh, are some of my best friends now. And same thing with, I guess the same with dice making is I've made so many friends that I never would have if I hadn't gotten into this community. So it's just great. And honestly, and it goes across a bunch of different hobbies too. Like I went to an anime convention shortly after Fan Expo and met a voice actor who was super excited that I make dice, and I'm probably gonna work with him on getting something for him at some point. It it's just the connections are amazing that I've been able to make doing this.
I think I would have to totally agree with you. Just going to Fan Expo alone, because of the lack, even though that Fan Expo is not TTRPG
Mhm.
focused, even though there was dice makers there and things like that, um, but the just the nerd community in general is that we support each other, and there's people buying art there, buying your dice there. You don't even know, they might just be buying your dice because they're cool, not because they play the game. But there's so much appreciation that comes from the community, and the good thing about the D&D community, we're all dice goblins. So if they see a really cool set of dice, we're gonna buy. it. Um, and I and that's kind of like the whole D30 thing. It's we bought what your last D30 at the table, I believe, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
I was to say I'm pretty sure we bought your last D30, and that makes us that's awesome. Um, and to meet you the way we did, and I'm glad we did. We're this the doors that open during this TTRPG community has been nothing but welcoming opening arms, you know. And and I'm glad we made this connection with you because we found out that you edit, we found you make dice, and things like that. And which comes to the last question: do you plan on going outside of the realm of making dice, or have you already?
By that, do you mean making other things in general?
Yep.
So, yeah, right now I usually also sell like little dragons that can fit D20s in their tail. I have a bunch of different dice boxes. Most recently, I started making these dagger shaped boxes that hold one set in them. I do trays. I just got a new tray mold that takes a lot of resin. And I've only made one of them so far because I had to pour multiple days for that. I was not expecting it. Yeah, I make a bunch of different things, and there's technically also coasters, but one of them's in the shape of what I would consider the die shape, the D20, and I use that as a tray,
Kind
not
of
a
like,
coaster.
kind of like, oh, a coaster, kind of like our logo, like it's shaped as a mug, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's that
Okay,
shape.
that's awesome.
Hexagon, that's what they're called. You know.
Well, that's awesome to hear that you expanded out a little bit. Do you plan on expanding any more, um, or are you gonna
Uh,
subtly
let's
just
see.
stay mostly dice and these other things?
So I plan to. My primary focus is probably going to stay with dice. I know my dad's kind of wanting to join into the business a bit more, and he wants to try to get some custom metal dice designed for us, which is really different because it's not handmade. But we might look into that. And uh, I also make dice for other games like Vampire the Masquerade. I make dice for those. I'm looking into other systems as well. I had some people telling me that they wanted Fate Fudge dice, so I have to look into that.
Um,
And
have you made D3s yet? And do you plan on?
D3s. I have
Yeah.
not done D3s. I have the D2s, but not D3s.
They just released D3s back into D&D, I think within the year and a half. So that might be something to look into, since they're going into one D&D. I don't know if you've looked into the latest D&D stuff, but they're planning on sticking to one version of D&D now and just expanding off of it. Don't they don't plan on doing additions anymore. So it
I
looks like the D3 might be coming back.
I did hear about that. I didn't know about the D3, so I have that on a list now that I need to reach out to a master maker about getting a new die made.
I'm glad I could help you there then.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good information.
um, it's in a certain subclass of a barbarian that they use a D3. And
Okay.
uh, I would and they used to use it in the old editions more often, so I would expect it to come back. Um, I would just keep an eye on it since it's only in one subclass, and if I notice any more subclasses, I'll definitely send you a message and help you out that way.
Well, if anything, I can always just make them as an extra bowl kind of die for now, and stick with the 7-piece sets as sets. We'll
Uh,
see.
all right, let me close out here, and then we'll talk some. I want to talk a little bit offline about a couple things, if you don't mind.
Fine.
All right. Thanks everybody that stopped by. It's the normal two, Reese, or normal three. Chris was in here too, and I really appreciate you guys and your support. Um, you guys are always here, and thanks for asking the questions. And we'll be back next time. We'll hopefully have a more set schedule after about a month ish. For about a month, I'm going to be on second shift to help deliver an airplane, and I'll be back on days, and I'll be consistently doing a Thursday podcast, and hopefully have wonderful people like Katy here on here. And I plan on having Katy back after she reaches 100 episodes of Critical Role Campaign 1. All right. Thank you, everybody. You can check Katy out at Dungeon
No. Dragon.
Dragon Ink Dice. Just Google it. I'm gonna have her post it in our Discord. Go to our Discord. Go to Mimic Marketing and socials to go check out our socials. Dragon Ink Dice. Ignore me. I'm a terrible person.